Hey guys, it's Jackson Fulcher here, and I am finally back from vacation. Just wanted to let you guys know that right away. I'm going to be catching up on some stuff like this Ghostbusters review, and also a review for the Purge election year coming soon, and also that box office talk that I missed. But I just wanted to say really quick that I wanted to make a big video to make up for the past couple days that I missed, and it's also been a year since the last Q&A that I did. So I was thinking maybe in the next week or so we could do another Q&A. So if you have a question that you want me to answer in a video, then you can leave that in the comments below. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing all of them. If I don't, it's either because I missed it, I made an editing mistake, or I was too lazy. Probably not that last one. So leave your questions down in the comments below, and it's time for me to review what is quite possibly going to be the most controversial review I think I've ever done. Let's do it. Ghostbusters, the 2016 remake, is directed by Paul Feig and is written by Paul Feig and Katie Seppold, who previously worked together on their film The Heat, and this stars the all-female Ghostbusters, played by Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, and their male receptionist, Chris Hemsworth. And as far as story goes, it's a little similar to the original Ghostbusters, where 4 individuals band together to fight off a paranormal threat, but this one is a little bit different. In this movie, Kristen Wiig is trying to be a legitimate professor at some university somewhere. Unfortunately, her paranormal past has come back to haunt her because a book that she wrote with her best friend Abby Yates, played by Melissa McCarthy, is on Amazon, so she gets fired and she decides to re-team with Melissa McCarthy and her new partner Jillian Holtzman, played by Kate McKinnon, and they go off investigating some paranormal events that have happened across New York City, one of them leading them to Leslie Jones's character, Patty. Now, the history of this movie, it's too much to summarize all in 1 minute or so. The fact that they announced this reboot in the first place, switching the male leads with female leads, and the marketing campaign, it really didn't seem like this movie was going to turn out well, and fans before the movie, and even when this movie came out, went ballistic. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score is fresh, but the audience score, you will notice, is very mixed. But I still held out hope for this movie because I'm a fan of Paul Feig's movies like Spy and Bridesmaids. I really enjoyed those comedies, and I even knew that the trailers for those movies kind of sucked. So I kind of knew that Paul Feig already has a track record of some pretty bad trailers for some pretty good movies. So I actually held out hope for this movie. So walking out of this movie, what did I think? Me being a big fan of the first Ghostbusters after watching it recently, you want to know what I thought of this movie? It's average. Do I hate this movie? No. Do I love this movie? No. Did this movie exceed any of my expectations? Sort of. Let's talk about some of the good things. The team chemistry is really good here. These 4 actresses did a very good job playing their roles, telling jokes, but not trying to overshine each other, making them seem like the all-star Ghostbuster. The jokes felt natural. They all felt natural with each other. Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig feeling the most natural, not only because they know each other from Bridesmaids, because they were both in that, but also because their characters in the movie have been friends for a very long time. So of course their chemistry would feel the most natural. And even Leslie Jones, I was a little worried for her character because the trailers made it seem like she was just going to be yelling the whole time, and I was a little worried that she was going to get obnoxious, but she actually turned out to be a good character. I ended up really enjoying her character in this film. She told some really funny jokes, and I feel really bad that Leslie Jones recently left Twitter because of all the people that came after her because they hated this movie. Kate McKinnon, I was a little iffy about her character overall. There's one scene near the finale where she completely took over the screen for a minute, and she was really good in that scene, but then there are also some times where I think she was trying to overact like she was trying to be in some other movie. At times, her character felt more as a cartoon character instead of an actual Ghostbuster. But overall, I think these 4 actresses did a really good job together, and Chris Hemsworth, my god, he was so hysterical in this film. I was a little worried for him because in Vacation last year, he was in that, and that's a comedy, and I did not enjoy him in that movie. And this is also a comedy, so I was a little worried, but he actually turned out to be one of the funniest parts of it, especially when he's being interviewed for the receptionist job. That was comedy gold. And the visual effects, I thought they looked really good in this movie, and the way they incorporated that with the 3D, because I saw it in 3D. This is actually one of the better 3D movies that I have seen lately, because it actually seems like stuff is coming off the screen. That was really cool. And the action was really well done by Paul Feig. He proved to me in Spy that not only did he know how to direct comedy, but he also knows how to direct action, and he brings that here as well. However, this is where we're going to segue into our cons. I mentioned that Paul Feig directed the action really well in this movie, and he does, but what I didn't think he did that well in the last 45 minutes of this movie, basically the big finale, was also balancing it with the comedy. I think the quality of the humor actually went down during that last 45 minutes when it became a little more dedicated to these action scenes and all these visual effects flying around. Not that they weren't trying to infuse humor in there, it's just for me, it just didn't really work. And it's not just in that last 45 minutes. In the first 20 minutes of the movie, I found myself not laughing. I was like, wow, this is by far Paul Feig's least funny film. Eventually, the jokes did start to pick up a bit, but in that first 20 minutes and the last 45 minutes, I think the jokes really did not hit. And also in the last 45 minutes, as well directed as that action scene was, there is a big plot hole in there. Basically, the Ghostbusters are fighting all the ghosts with the proton packs and little proton handguns and proton gloves. Really cool tech that they introduced in this film. It was really cool seeing that. But my problem is, in that last 45 minutes, they start killing ghosts. Let that dumbness sink in for a second. Because earlier in this movie, during a really cool ghost-busting scene, taking place at this rock concert with this dragon-type ghost, they establish, like in the original Ghostbusters, they have to use traps to get rid of these ghosts, and they established that. But in that last 45 minutes, it felt like Paul Feig went, we don't really need to have them trap every single ghost, we just need to have them, like, disappear after they get hit. That good, Sony? Is that good? Oh, you just want money, so you don't care? Okay. So even though that action was really well directed, you can't help but realize that there is kind of a big plot hole there with them killing ghosts. And I mentioned earlier how the humor basically started to miss for me during the last 45 minutes and the beginning 20 minutes. There are also some segments of humor in some parts of the movie that are supposed to be funny, but they ended up missing for me, and unfortunately, they're the cameos. I think this movie tried to honor the original Ghostbusters in the worst way possible. It's like they were trying to oomph their quality by taking an actor from the original film, giving them one tiny minute segment here so fans can be like, oh look, it's the guy from the original, what do you know? And it would be fine if they were like blink and you miss them cameos or just tiny little references that are kind of clever, but no, in this movie literally grinds to a halt just to honor the greatness that is Ivan Reitman's 1984 Ghostbusters. One cameo happens, and it's literally for like 15 seconds, and I was like, alright, that wasn't too bad. But then the person who was cameoing shows up in another scene that lasts for about 2 minutes. So it wasn't even a cameo anymore. It was a small supporting role. And it would have made a little bit more sense to bring everyone back from the original if you wanted to make this an actual sequel, like a passing of the torch from the original Ghostbusters team to this new Ghostbusting team. But no, this is a complete reboot. So instead of them actually feeling naturally in this movie, it feels like they were just forced in there because the original Ghostbusters is so great. And since we're remaking it, we want to win fans over by having them forced in there. Even the post-credits of this movie, yes, there is a post-credit scene, you might want to stick around for that if you haven't seen it yet. Even the post-credits of this movie, not only is it set up for a sequel, but it's also a reference to the original Ghostbusters film. Another one of my problems that I have with this movie is that anyone that isn't in the new Ghostbusters team is either a moron or a douchebag. Basically, everyone surrounding the Ghostbusters team thinks they're frauds and, oh, you're fakers, or you just need to shut up, don't mention it, just keep it under wraps while the Ghostbusters are trying to do the right thing. It was just really frustrating seeing these stereotypes supporting characters surrounding the other Ghostbusters. But one of the big problems with this film is the villain. This guy sucks. They try to infuse some character in this villain, but they do it in the wrong way. It's pretty much just him moping around about how he's a freak and how he's been bullied and now he's gonna be the bully, so he sets up this elaborate paranormal plan. Literally almost every scene he's in is him shadily walking around the people, monologuing to himself, and no spoilers or anything, but what they do to him in like the last 45 minutes of this movie was just I don't know what they were thinking with this villain. So my big problems really due this movie losing its steam at a couple places, one in particular, the last 45 minutes, some really bad stereotypical characters, a really lame villain, and some jokes not hitting, but this movie does have some good things about it. The new Ghostbusters team, they do a good job. The visuals actually look really good. The action scenes were really fun to watch. Chris Hemsworth is a way better receptionist than Annie Potts, because what does Annie Potts add in those movies? Kinda nothing. She's kinda funny, but she doesn't really do much. Chris Hemsworth, I think, is funnier. I know, shoot me now. But at the end of the day, guys, this is not a movie that I'm gonna remember that long. Like a week from now, I'm gonna forget about it, because Star Trek Beyond is coming out. Lights Out is coming out, a horror film I'm really looking forward to. The next Jason Bourne movie is coming out, and Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad is almost here. There's tons of other movies that I'm looking forward to that I think are going to turn out great. That there's no time for me to even acknowledge this film. I've already heard so much about the hate and controversy towards this film that I already began to grow tired of this movie before it even came out. So I really just don't have the energy to want to keep talking about this film. Not only because there are other things coming out, but because this movie is just so forgettable. I do have some positives with this film, but I do also have some negatives with this film. But overall, it is just average. It is a forgettable, average film. And I know there are going to be people out there that are going to really hate this movie, mainly because they're really big fans of the original, and one of their big complaints is going to be, my childhood is ruined! And quick rant real quick, if you use that argument in a review for this movie, just, it's ruining my childhood, that is the lamest statement you could give in a review. How is one singular movie ruining your entire childhood? It's either because your childhood was not that good to begin with, or you just can't accept the fact that you can literally just watch the original Ghostbusters film instead of watching this remake. And if you let this remake taint the fond memories that you have of watching this movie in your childhood, that's pretty pathetic. I'm sorry, I had to say it. It's pathetic. Alright, you know what? I'm done. No more Ghostbusters. No more. Done. No more Ghostbusters for at least a month. Or, like, how about a year? Or never again. No more Ghostbusters. I'm gonna give this movie a C+. There are some things I like about it. There are some things I don't really like about it. Overall, it's average. It's alright. I'm gonna forget about it the next couple weeks. And if I was forced to watch this movie again, chances are I would not entirely hate myself. But overall, it's not that important. This is the definition of it's just a movie that happened. No more. Anyways, if you saw Ghostbusters, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and leave your questions for that Q&A that I mentioned in the beginning. I need to take a nap. I gotta review the Purge election year tomorrow, and that's gonna take a lot more energy, and I've kind of already wasted it on this movie. So as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.